Time now for the most listened to talk show in Vegas. Talking with those on the right, the left, and everywhere in between. It's Pushing the Limits with Brian Shapiro.
I hate everything about this Brian Shapiro guy.
This show will make you laugh, make you cry, and it might raise Brian's blood pressure.
You know what, dude? People like you, all you do is make excuses for the orange turd, and I've had it.
Buckle up, because it's Pushing the Limits with Brian Shapiro.
You're different. I like you.
Now, here's Brian.
All right, what's going on, everybody? Happy Friday. Yeah, that's right. Welcome. It is Pushing the Limits time. Thank you so much for joining us. Could be listening on the Occupy Democrats Network, the FMAM dial KSHP, the Washington Press Network, TikTok, X, YouTube, at PTL Radio Show, pushingthelimits.live, and we appreciate you being a part of the show. Jam-packed show lined up for you today. Obviously, we're going to be reviewing and we're going to be going over this Kamala Harris, Tim Walz joint interview from Dana Bash on CNN. We're going to be getting to all that. The positives, if you think there are any negatives, we'll certainly be discussing that, what the right is saying, what the left is saying, and everywhere in between we'll be talking about it. J.D. Vance doing something again, saying something and doing something despicable, and then not apologizing on CNN and doubling down. We will play that audio for you coming up in a little bit. You know, it's so interesting to me because my first reaction to this interview and the right is exactly the way I thought it was going to be. They're going to be moving the goalposts. Now she's done her first interview. They're going to say, oh, it was puffer questions. Oh, you know, she did a joint interview, even though Waltz spoke for maybe 20 seconds the entire interview. Oh, it was unfair. They gave her easy questions, this and that. You know, you're going to, again, that's all the right's doing. They're trying to, first they try to dehumanize her and make sexual innuendo jokes saying she slept her way to the top. That fell flat. Then they go after Tim Walz and they say the stolen valor nonsense. That fell flat. That was absurd. Then they call her stupid. Then they say she's not black or she turned black. So every day it's something new with these Republicans that are searching, right? I thought she did fine. And we're going to go through it. We're going to talk about it. I thought she did fine. I do want to start with cut 3 because cut 3, you have Kamala Harris asked about, you know, did she have any regrets with Joe Biden? And of course, the right claiming she lied. She knew that Joe Biden wasn't mentally fit, as if everybody in the administration, including Kamala Harris, was some sort of doctor. When anybody close to Joe Biden would say, yeah, the last couple months, his health has deteriorated a little bit. Not the same guy he was even 6 months ago. But this is Dana Bash asking the question, and, you know, does Harris have any regrets when it comes to Joe Biden?
Vice President Harris, you were a very staunch defender of President Biden's capacity to serve another 4 years. Right after the debate, you insisted that President Biden is extraordinarily strong. Given where we are now, do you have any regrets about what you told the American people?
No, not at all. Not at all. I have served with President Biden for almost 4 years now, and I'll tell you, it's one of the greatest honors of my career, truly. He cares so deeply about the American people. He is so smart and loyal to the American people. And I have spent hours upon hours with him, be it in the Oval Office or the Situation Room. He has the intelligence, the commitment, and the judgment and disposition that I think the American people rightly deserve in their president.
I don't see anything wrong with that response. Do you? No matter why Joe Biden stepped down, he stepped aside. Here she is. She was duly elected with Joe Biden as his vice president. There is no evidence to suggest, because all these people on the far right, they make assumptions or claims without any real actual proof or evidence to back up their ridiculous opinions that somehow Harris withheld Joe Biden's health from the American people. But yet they make those claims, and it's ridiculous. I see nothing wrong with that answer at all. Now, I've said to you time and time again that the Biden administration, including Kamala Harris on the ticket, can stand by their record and their accomplishments. And this is Harris talking about that.
Well, let's start with the fact that when Joe Biden and I came in office, during the height of a pandemic, we saw over 10 million jobs were lost. People, I mean, literally, we were all tracking the numbers. Hundreds of people a day were dying because of COVID. The economy had crashed. In large part, all of that because of mismanagement by Donald Trump of that crisis. When we came in, our highest priority was to do what we could to rescue America. And today, we know that we have inflation at under 3%. A lot of our policies have led to the reality that America recovered faster than any wealthy nation around the world. But you are right. Prices, in particular for groceries, are still too high. The American people know it, I know it, which is why my agenda includes what we need to do to bring down the price of groceries. For example, dealing with an issue like price gouging, what we need to do to extend the child tax credit to help young families be able to take care of their children in their most formative years, what we need to do to bring down the cost of housing. My proposal includes what would be a tax credit of $25,000 for first-time home buyers, so they can just have enough to put a down payment on a home, which is part of the American dream and their aspiration, but do it in a way that allows them to actually get on the path to achieving that goal and that dream.
So
It is interesting, isn't it? Do Trump supporters have Alzheimer's? Are they in the bunker? Do we remember the economy that Donald Trump left off for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris when we were losing 3,000 to 5,000 people a day from COVID, when people were locked up in their homes, when the economy was shut down? Do we remember the economy that the Biden-Harris campaign took over? And Harris is 150% correct when she says we need to compare ourselves to some of the richest other countries in the world. We're doing better than all of them. Our economy's doing better. Inflation is under 3%. But if you listen to your typical MAGA Trumper that listens to OAN or Newsmax or Fox News, Jesse Waters, those kinds of personalities, talentless, I might add, they will lead you to believe that Joe Biden's administration are the reasons why you're paying more for gas, the reason why you're paying more for your eggs. And any basic economist 101 would tell you that that's not true. And if you don't believe me, then look at the other countries, the G7 summit, rich, wealthy nations that we compare ourselves to. We are doing better than them. So wouldn't you praise this administration? No, not if you're MAGA. But don't blame Donald Trump for anything, right? Don't blame him for the fact that we are $8.4 trillion in debt because of Donald Trump in 4 years. That's right. I repeat, $8.4 trillion in debt. COVID's going to be gone by Easter. 15 cases down to nothing. Talking about injecting yourself with disinfectant. Turning coronavirus press conferences into campaign rallies is virtually what he did. So if you want to blame Joe Biden and you want to blame Harris, I believe you're very misguided. But tell me, what policies did they put forth in place that you think caused inflation, caused gas prices to go up? Go ahead and tell me. I'd love to hear. It's the same people that call into this program that say, I love Donald Trump and I'm voting for Donald Trump because of his policies. Oh, really? Which policy do you like? Which policy you really think helped? And I had a guy call in the other day who said he gave money to black colleges. Well, you see, it was Barack Obama that started doing that under his administration, and Donald Trump kept it going. But you see, when Harris at a campaign rally talks about possibly no taxing on tips, they say, oh, you copied the Trump administration. You copied a policy. First of all, Trump never implemented that. He just said it in a few rallies. You're copying him. But when Donald Trump does it, it's not copying at all. Just give him credit for it, even though it was the Obama administration that helped fund black colleges. I do find that to be very interesting. Now, Dana Bash, who I'm not a huge fan of, okay, I don't think she's great. I wish they found somebody else at CNN to do these interviews, to be quite frank with you. But Dana Bash does ask her about the border, because if you listen to MAGA Republicans, they will tell you that it's all Joe Biden's fault and Kamala Harris's fault. They'll call her the border czar. But what you don't hear a lot of these right-wingers talk about is this comprehensive border bill that was put in place by both sides that Donald Trump told Republican senators to not pass. Have a listen to this.
I will say this, that Joe Biden and I and our administration worked with members of the United States Congress on an immigration issue that is very significant to the American people and to our security, which is the border. And through bipartisan work, including some of the most conservative members of the United States Congress, a bill was crafted, which we supported, which I support. And Donald Trump got word of this bill that would have contributed to securing our border. And because he believes that it would not have helped him politically, he told his folks in Congress, don't put it forward. He killed the bill. A border security bill that would have put 1,500 more agents on the border. And let me tell you something, the Border Patrol endorsed the bill. And I'm sure in large part because they knew they were working around the clock and 1,500 more agents would help them. That bill would have allowed us to increase seizures of fentanyl. Ask any community in America that has been devastated by fentanyl what passing that bill would have done to address their concern and a pain that they've experienced.
So you would push that legislation again. I just want to
Not
ask
only
about
push it, I will make sure that it comes to my desk and I would sign it.
And so for people out there that are saying, oh, it was a bad bill, they were giving too much money to Ukraine. First of all, this bill was endorsed by the Border Patrol. That's number one. Number two, it would have addressed a lot of issues, not every issue, but many issues that they face at the border. Sometimes in a bill, you have to negotiate with the other side. For example, not many Democrats that put this bill together agree with building a wall. But because we were funding the war in the Ukraine, which I also support, we were also allocating money towards building a wall. Not something that Harris agrees with necessarily, but they were willing to negotiate because that's what you do in these bipartisan bills, whether it be the infrastructure bill or other bipartisan bills, the gun legislation that the Biden administration helped put on the books. And Lankford, who is a MAGA Republican who Donald Trump a few years ago called the best Republican in office right now when it comes to dealing with the border, helped put this bill together. It's not perfect. Both sides negotiated. So if your excuse is, oh, that was too much money for Ukraine. Well, what do you have now? Tell me. What do you have now? You don't have a bill in place, and those same issues that we had on the border then, for the most part, we still have now because Donald Trump took his little orange fingers and he picked up the phone and he called these Republican senators and he said, don't pass this bill. He didn't say don't pass the bill because it's too much money we're giving to Ukraine. He said don't pass the bill unless it's perfect. We don't want Joe Biden to look good. It's very simple, ladies and gentlemen. Donald Trump and many of these MAGA Republicans don't care about the border. They don't care about you. They don't care about me. All they care about is remaining in power. All they care about is looking good. And God forbid, if a bill that passes makes the Democrats look good, they don't care about the country. They just care about remaining in power and that little R next to their name. That's exactly why Donald Trump picked up the phone, because the only person he cares about is himself. And for those of you out there that say, oh, well, this interview had nothing to do with policy. This interview had nothing to do with her plan. You're biased and you have no idea what you're talking about. There was plenty of meat in this interview, and this cut proves it right now. This is Kamala Harris talking about what she would do on day one when she becomes president of the United States.
So what would you do day one?
Day one, it's going to be about, one, implementing my plan for what I call an opportunity economy. I've already laid out a number of proposals in that regard, which include what we're going to do to bring down the cost of everyday goods, what we're going to do to invest in America's small businesses, what we're going to do to invest in families. For example, extending the child tax credit to $6,000 for families for the first year of their child's life to help them buy a car seat, to help them buy baby clothes, a crib. There's the work that we're going to do that is about investing in the American family around affordable housing, a big issue in our country right now. So there are a number of things on day one.
A number of things on day one. Republicans will say, oh, my God, she gave you a word salad. No, she didn't. She told you specifically what things that she was going to do, including the border bill that she's going to put forth again, and she will sign off on it, and she will push it. She talked about this child tax credit. She talked about her opinions on the Israel-Palestinian conflict, which, by the way, I support as well. Plenty of meat and plenty of policy in this interview. But again, Republicans have MAGA wax in their ears. I'll take calls from MAGA Republicans right now. I see a lot of people on social media, I shouldn't say a lot, but some that are saying, Brian, it was a terrible interview. You don't know what you're talking about. That was a word salad. Okay, I'm going to open up the lines right now to only MAGA supporters. That's right, 702-221-7283, 702-221-7283. If you are a MAGA supporter and you didn't like the interview and you disagree with what I'm saying, don't be a keyboard warrior. Go ahead, call into this show right now. The phone lines are open. Don't be a coward. Call into the show. Tell me why you disagree with me. Tell me what you didn't like in that interview. Tell me if you think it was a word salad. Now, there was a point in the interview, and listen, I like Vice Presidential nominee Governor Tim Walz. I like him. I think he's a good guy. I stand by what I said earlier, where I think Shapiro probably would have been a better choice, but I think Tim Walz is a solid dude. Tim Walz is a solid guy. He's been a good governor of the great state of Minnesota. He served this country for 24 years, the teacher, the football coach. I mean, he's a good, solid, all-around guy. But what I will say is, I believe he made a mistake in answering one question in the interview yesterday. So, and he, by the way, he wasn't asked a lot of questions. He was only asked a few. But the whole stolen valor thing is a joke. What Tim Walz was asked was about the whole stolen valor, the comment specifically that he made. He was talking passionately about gun control. And he said the weapons that I used in war. Obviously, he misspoke. But instead of answering the question and just saying, yeah, I misspoke, this was the answer, and I don't think it was the best one. Here's what he said.
Governor Walz, the country is just starting to get to know you. I want to ask you a question about how you've described your service in the National Guard. You said that you carried weapons in war, but you have never deployed actually in a war zone. A campaign official said that you misspoke. Did you?
Well, first of all, I'm incredibly proud. I've done 24 years of wearing the uniform of this country. Equally proud of my service in a public school classroom, whether it's Congress or the governor. My record speaks for itself, but I think people are coming to get to know me. I speak like they do. I speak candidly. I wear my emotions on my sleeves, and I speak especially passionately about our children being shot in schools and around guns. So I think people know me. They know who I am. They know where my heart is. And again, my record has been out there for over 40 years to speak for itself.
And the idea that you said that you were in war, did you misspeak as the campaign has said?
Yeah, I said we were talking about, in this case, this was after a school shooting, the ideas of carrying these weapons of war. And my wife, the English she told my grammar is not always correct. But again, if it's not this, it's an attack on my children for showing love for me, or it's an attack on my dog. I'm not going to do that. And the one thing I'll never do is I'll never demean another member's service in any way. I never have, and I never will.
All right, so listen, a lot of the things he said I agree with. I just think there was probably maybe a better way to answer the question. He misspoke. And then we can move on. Now, if the guy 30 times over in the last year said that he served and he was at war and he was carrying these weapons at war, then that would be a different situation. He didn't just misspeak. Just say, hey, listen, I misspoke. I was talking passionately about guns, which, by the way, I'm totally on the same side of Tim Walz on, and for the most part, Democrats across the country. I just, you don't need to talk about how, your wife corrects your grammar. And I also don't like him when he says, listen, the people know me. Well, no, we kind of don't. I've learned a lot about you over the course of the last month. We're still learning more about you, Tim, Governor. So I really didn't like that answer, but let's be honest. This interview wasn't really about Tim Walz. This was about Kamala Harris doing her first interview. The guy sat there. It's fine. And he was asked a few questions, but this was about Kamala Harris. And I thought she did just fine. And again, this is one of the fundamental differences, and there's so many of them, between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump. Family. Talking about family. Moments that you cherish. And listen to this. This was towards the end of the interview, Harris talking about a member of her family.
And Madam Vice President, the photograph that has gone viral. You were speaking, one of your grandnieces that you were just talking about was watching you accept the nomination. You didn't explicitly talk about gender or race in your speech, but it obviously means a lot to a lot of people, and that viral picture really says it. What does it mean to you?
I am running because I believe that I am the best person to do this job at this moment, for all Americans, regardless of race and gender. But I did see that photograph and I was deeply touched by it. And you're right, it's the back of her head, her two little braids, and then I'm in the front of the photograph, obviously speaking. And it's very humbling. It's very humbling in many ways.
Did she talk to you about it afterwards?
Oh, she had a lot to talk about. She had a lot. She listened to everything, and she listens to everything.
Give you your hot takes?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Madam Vice President, Governor Walz, thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
for having
Thank you.
us.
Okay, so there you go. A nice moment, a family moment. And we all know what happened with Tim Walz's son, Gus. A nice moment, you would think, between a father and a son that very much love one another. I thought it was overall a decent interview. I'll get to what I think Kamala Harris should do next. And I know that former presidential candidate Joe Walsh has something to say about that. I agree with him. But right now, I want to hear from you, particularly Maga. You didn't like the interview? Tell me why. You're unhappy with Kamala Harris? You're voting for Trump? Tell me why. You didn't think she answered the questions honestly? You didn't think it was a good interview? Tell me why. Because I think it's one thing if you post something on social media, a right-wing meme, or type in a sentence, Brian, you're lying, or, this or that. Let's have a conversation. Number to call is 702-221-7283. Listen, most of the MAGA people that are making statements don't have the guts to call into this show. I understand that. I appreciate those that do, and I give you credit. But they're few and far between. Here's your chance. Again, that number to call if you want to be a part of the conversation, 702-221-7283 is the number to call if you want to be a part of the show. Let's start off with Scott. Scott is first up. What's going on, Scott?
Hey, Brian. Your old pal Scott out here in sunny California. Good to be on the show again, my friend.
Well, thank you for calling in, my friend. What's on your mind today?
Oh, well, first of all, if I can, I'm seeing the video on YouTube, and I see the two hockey posters, and I just want to extend condolences out to Calgary and the Columbus Blue Jackets on the loss of Johnny Gaudreau and his brother Matthew.
Horrible story. I guess they were on bicycles and they were hit, and it's just absolutely tragic. And I remember growing up as a kid, I was a huge Hartford Whalers season ticket holder. And I remember we lost a hockey player by the name of Chris Chelios under different circumstances, but my heart goes out to their families, two young men with their whole lives ahead of them. And he was an incredibly talented player. And
Johnny, they called him Johnny Hockey for a reason, and he was a top 3 draft pick years ago. So,
well, life is precious, and we never have any guarantees in life. And here's a guy who was the top of his physical conditioning, and really sad. My heart goes out to their families. What's on your mind today? What do you think about this interview?
Well, I didn't actually watch the interview on CNN, but I've been scrolling through social media and I've been seeing a lot of things, and probably within the last 24 hours, I have seen I've seen two of probably the dumbest memes from the other side that are so hilarious. They're too stupid to make up. One of them, I'm not. I think you've probably seen it as well, Brian. It's this one where the right side is trying to say like, oh, since Kamala has taken office, it's like all these things have gone up, and it's like, when exactly has Kamala Harris taken office? Yeah. When did she take the oath of office?
Listen, let me tell you something. People that constantly, once in a while, putting up a meme, I don't see anything wrong with that, but there are people on the far right that go on social media, and they're obviously not smart enough to have a conversation with somebody. So what they do is they just steal a meme. They're not even making the memes themselves. They'll steal it from another account. Listen, I used to work with a guy in radio who did not have one original thought of his own, and he would steal opinions and comments from other people on social media. I mean, first of all, it's just, how do you respect somebody like that, number one? And it's really sad. And it's, again, these are people, Donald Trump loves the uneducated, and a lot of these.
I know. And it's funny because, like, they don't realize that just because Joe Biden's not running, he's still the one in charge. They seem to not realize that. And then I saw another one, and you're going to love this too. I saw another one last night. This woman on social media posted this thing, and there's pictures of Donald Trump, Martin Luther King, who was another one? Ronald Reagan.
Yeah.
And there was one top right corner picture of John F. Kennedy Sr., and it said, all these guys stood up to Democrats and got shot by Democrats. Apparently, she didn't know that JFK was a Democrat.
Unbelievable. I mean, listen, how do you...
He's still up there, and I can't make that up.
No, you can't. And, again, the people who put these memes out there are not the most educated people in the world, and the people that share the memes are even less educated than that. GED, Lauren Boebert type people. What can I tell you? Thank you for the call, sir. All right, let's get to some MAGA callers. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Let's go to JD. JD is a Donald Trump supporter. Hello, JD.
Yes, Brian. First of all, the interview or the press conference, whatever it was only 27 minutes. Trump goes out there and Vance goes out there in town halls and press conferences for 2 hours and answers every question.
Hold on. One thing at a time, and then I'll let you continue. First of all, Donald Trump showing up at Mar-a-Lago and not answering questions directly and doing interviews on Fox and Friends and Newsmax and OAN.
CNN.
Oh, really? When was the last interview Donald Trump did with CNN?
He did a 2-hour town hall.
No, I'm not talking. I'm not talking about a town hall. And by the way, how long ago was that? When was the last interview? Sit down, 27-minute interview, not a town hall where many of his supporters are asking him questions in the crowd. You said interview. When was the last 27-minute
with the black journalist when he sat down and went
that
there
was
and,
okay. So first of all, that was again a town hall type setting where he sat down and he attacked Kamala Harris and her blackness.
He was cross-examined.
No, he was not. Okay, first of all,
by the ABC News reporter.
You think he was cross-examined? What are you talking about? What are you talking about?
Do you remember the interview? Did you see
yes.
how she started it off?
Yes, I did. And she started it off. And by the way, she has more journalistic integrity in her pinky than anybody on Newsmax has in their entire body. All she simply did, and I know you guys seem to have a problem with that, but all she simply did was spoke his statements and his quotes that he's made about black people. And you call that cross-examination? Do you think a Fox and Friends interview is a challenging interview? Do you think a Newsmax interview is a challenging interview? So anyway, going back to what you stated, she's been the nominee for president for a month. But yet you think Donald Trump showing up at Mar-a-Lago in his lobby, talking about sharks and talking about Hannibal Lecter saying...
You can't give credit to Vance and Trump for appearing for almost anybody to answer questions for the last, 2 years?
First of all, what does it matter if you show up and you answer questions if you lie? What does it matter if you show up and allegedly answer questions when you don't tell the truth?
There were no lies during the Democratic convention, right?
Okay, well, we're talking about an interview. You want to talk about
okay, all right. Could I carry the conversation a little bit because you're asking for Trump supporters, okay. All right?
Yeah, well, I'm listening. I'm happy to do that, but go ahead.
Thank you. Second of all, there's no transcripts. They made no transcripts available.
So what? Who cares?
Who cares? The first or second question. Who cares? I don't know. It would be nice that they normally do that. The first question or second question Dana Bash asked Vice President Harris, she gave her two answers to the question. She gave her a multiple choice question, and she gave her the answers. So that wasn't really a tough interview.
No, she didn't. I don't know what you're talking about. She didn't give her answers. She talked about the Israeli-Palestine. Here's the problem, JD. Here's the problem, JD. The problem I have with your characterization of this interview is it doesn't matter what she does, whether it be her speech at the DNC convention or the joy you see in running a positive campaign. Doesn't matter what she does. You're always gonna no. Okay, I understand.
Let's just stop it.
Okay, no. You see, you don't tell me how to take a phone call.
I say we're not going to agree on anything.
I understand.
We're wasting each other's
No,
time.
I actually don't think we're wasting any time at all. Tell me what was actually said in the interview that you don't like or that you disagree with, because you haven't really given me anything yet.
Well, first of all, she reversed her positions on fracking. She reversed her positions on the border. Now,
she didn't. How did she reverse? Hold on. You just said two things. Let's talk about that. First of all, in politics, people can't reverse their decisions on anything, or they can't change their mind on something that might be best for the country. You seem to have a problem with that, sir.
No, I agree with you there.
Okay, so let's mark that one aside about the flip-flopping stuff, okay?
Okay.
Now, let's go ahead.
You keep talking about the border bill.
Mm-hmm.
Have you read the entirety of the border bill?
I did. I read it a few months back, but I did.
Let me ask you a couple of questions.
I know exactly what you're going to say. I know right-wing talking points. Here we go. You didn't like the money that they were sending to Ukraine and all this other stuff. Go ahead.
No. Let me. First of all, they codified in that bill that it was legal to have 5,000 illegals a day cross the border. Mm-hmm. That's a total of 1.8 million people every year coming in illegally, which was okay with this.
Okay, so let me ask you a question then. So let me ask you a question, and I'll answer it with a question. Number one, why did the Border Patrol endorse the bill? Number two, why did MAGA Republicans...
The leadership of the union, the vice president and the treasurer and the union leaders endorsed the bill.
Okay.
Not
I wonder why the leaders endorsed the bill. Why did MAGA Republicans put it together? Somebody like Langford, who is a MAGA Republican, who Donald Trump once said is the best Republican when it comes to issues on the border. He was the front face of the Republicans who helped put this bill together.
I don't know how he.
I'll tell you how. Because I'll tell you how.
They were automatically getting work permits that all the illegals that come in. There was no more. The catch and release program would still be in effect. They were giving $5 billion to sanctuary cities to take care of the illegals under their people.
JD,
so
we're going in circles. We're going in circles.
No,
we're going. Yes. Here's why. JD,
we're going. Responsible people said no.
We're going. No, the responsible people did not say no. The responsible people were MAGA Republicans that sat at the table with Democrats and helped put this bill together.
Money in there for lawyers.
Okay, JD.
JD.
Here's the bottom line. You can disagree with parts of this border bill, but with people like you.
Facts in the bill.
Okay, I understand that. MAGA Republicans sat at the table with Democrats.
Do you want to pay lawyers to stop deportation of illegals?
Do I want to? JD, I'm going in circles with you. Not everything in the bill, both sides agree. But in these types of bipartisan bills, as you know, I assume, there's going to be negotiations and give and take. The bottom line is the overwhelming majority of those that are at the border agree while it wouldn't help every issue they have, it was a good step moving forward. And the main reason why this bill was not passed was not because of, excuse me, if you're going to say Donald Trump didn't stop the bill, when we have evidence, and even Mike Johnson admits that Donald Trump picked up the phone and called him Yes, he did. All right, JD, I can't have a conversation with you if you have no sense of reality at all. Yes, he did. The earth is not flat, and Donald Trump did pick up the phone and told Republican senators not to pass this bill. It's not my fault that you have no sense of reality. But my advice to you this weekend is enjoy your weekend and make sure you take off your Donald Trump knee pads before you go to sleep. 702-221-7283. Again, that number to call, 702-221-7283. Let's go to Muhammad. Muhammad is next. Hello, Muhammad.
Hey, how are you?
Good. What's on your mind?
Man, you really beat up on JD there. Is it post traumatic syndrome from your former partner at your previous show that you're suffering with? You can't chat nicely with somebody named JD? Is that what's happening?
No, I mean I chat nicely with people that deserve to. Like for example, yesterday and the day before, I had a guy call in who's a big Trump supporter. I kept him on for 20 minutes. We didn't insult each other. Okay.
I listened.
So then you know that
actually very, very entertaining and very informative.
Good. So
and I
thank
thought you handled that well. So I just want to touch on a couple things JD said.
Okay.
So one of the things, and I know you're going to assume this is a conspiracy theory that I'm just floating out there, but I'm really not. I find it interesting that it wasn't a live televised interview, and Kamala Harris took the last 4 days off. And in my mind, I think they've produced this. And to say that you had 3 or 4 days to produce, cut up, and piece this interview together for people to not be overwhelmed, in fact, be underwhelmed with the result, should tell you who we're dealing with. This lady is not a great communicator.
And you think Donald Trump is a great communicator?
Oh, no. That's not what I'm doing. I'm not doing the Trump.
So let's focus on Harris.
I'm going to go there.
Let's focus.
Okay.
The
other thing.
Hold on. One thing at a time.
That would be a reason why there were no transcripts, and I think that JD was on the right trail there.
Okay,
that's probably why.
Here's my issue with what you're saying.
This is a heavily produced movie by a CNN Studios.
Okay, so everything
to the American people.
Okay, so here's my problem with what you're saying. First of all, everything you're saying is unproven, and there's no evidence to prove any of your opinions. Now, when you say, Brian, you're going to think this is a conspiracy theory. I don't call things a conspiracy theory if there's some proof or evidence to back it up. First of all, she had no notes in front of her. There's zero evidence that anything was scripted.
Why would you need notes when you get 6 or 7 takes to get it right?
Okay, again. Okay, let's go with that. Okay, let's
Why
go with that.
On TV and speak
okay,
live,
let's go with that. Stop.
Muhammad,
stop. First of all, where is your evidence that there were, quote, 6 or 7 takes for the question? Go.
My evidence is that it wasn't a live interview.
That's not my question. Hey, Mohammed, that's not my question. I'm going to ask it again. Why don't you take the MAGA wax out of your ears and listen? Where is your evidence, going by your own words, that there were 6 or 7 takes per question? Go.
Where's your evidence that there wasn't?
You're the one making the claim. Hey, MAGA.
Piece it together?
MAGA, you're the one making the claim, not me. Okay, I'm not the one making the claim. No, it's not okay. You're the one making the claim.
Rebutting what I'm saying with no evidence.
What are you talking about?
To go off of.
What are you?
One fact that is a reality is that it's a produced event. It wasn't a live interview. We only see what they chose to let us see. Can we agree on that?
Okay, so here's where you're 100% wrong. As my producer just pointed out to me, the full transcript is on CNN. So you and JD are dodo heads. They released the full transcript. So while you're on a radio station claiming me that the transcript isn't out there, and MAGA JD calls in and says, where's the full transcript? Hey, dodo head, the full transcript is on CNN right now. Do you need me to repeat that? Do you need 6 or 7 takes for me to get this through your MAGA head? Do you want me to repeat it 6 or 7 times? Hey, dodo head, the full transcript is on CNN. What do you have to say to that, MAGA?
3 repeats on dodo head. We got it.
I gave you 3 takes. I gave you 3 takes instead of 7. By the way, you still haven't answered my question.
So, regardless of any of that, earlier so it sounds to me like you're extremely impressed with how the interview went, and that Kamala did extremely well.
No, I'm extremely impressed on how intelligent you are with your conspiracy theories and your opinions without any evidence to back up anything. I'm very impressed with you, sir. You're what? Yeah.
Here's one for you. Did Tim Walz ever deny that he misspoke when he said he carried arms in war?
Well,
No,
first of all,
no, he didn't, did he?
20. I'm going to answer you.
Did he?
24 years in serving this country, and as a public official and as a governor, sometimes you're going to say things that, and I would call it a mistake.
Opportunity to say he misspoke.
Gotcha. So while I think he could have answered that question better, you being a MAGA supporter, every single day Donald Trump lies intentionally. He still hasn't conceded the 2020 election. He still says he won. He says he's going to be a dictator on day one. Every single day, Donald Trump, yes, he did.
You talk about people calling in with talking points. You really, really have adopted the talking point.
What did I say that was? What did I say that's not true? What did I say that's not true?
It's almost laughable that you claim to be an independent.
What did I say that's not true?
Don't tout your voting record.
What did I say?
Nobody wants to hear it.
What did I say that's not true?
I said you claim to be an independent.
I don't care.
Laughable.
I don't care what you think is laughable. I'm asking you a question. What did I say that's not true? A talking point is something that you either disagree with or I'm spewing out something that's not factually accurate. Donald Trump is the guy that still hasn't conceded the 2020 election.
I don't care about Donald Trump.
I know
this
you don't.
Me supporting Donald Trump.
I know you don't.
You don't. Donald Trump.
I know you don't care about Donald Trump. Donald Trump could rape a child on TV, and you would still vote for him, and you would criticize Tim Walz because he misspoke. I know you don't care. You don't care that Donald Trump is a 34-count felon. You don't care that he's a liable rapist. You don't care what happened on January 6th. But God forbid if Tim Walz misspeaks, talking passionately about guns, that's something that Mohammed cares about. Mohammed, give me a break, man.
I care about the guy being honest. He had an opportunity.
Oh, please.
To say, yes,
please.
Please.
You being you care about being honest. You support Donald Trump. How could you care about anything with honesty in it?
Let me just say one more thing about Kamala Harris, and then
I'll
let you go. In the beginning of the interview, when she asked her about changing her positions, right? She very, very clearly stated, my beliefs have not changed. So that's signal calling to the Democrats, but saying that, yeah, we can still be energy independent and create energy that's okay.
I'm going to give you an analogy.
Without banning
okay, Mohammed.
fracking, right?
Mohammed, I'm going to give you an analogy.
What she's saying is, oh, I'm not going to ban fracking completely, but I am going to continue to push this clean energy agenda, which essentially means getting rid of fossil fuels and fracking. Let's just be clear.
Okay, so that's,
maybe you could be honest for a moment and admit that that's what she was doing.
I do find it interesting that you MAGA supporters, use the term honesty. But
I'm not a MAGA supporter.
Yeah,
you keep saying that. You can call me whatever you want.
I'm sure you're not.
Just like you can call yourself an independent.
I'm sure you're not.
Everybody knows is a joke.
Oh, it's not a joke. Actually, it's not a joke.
You're a Democrat.
No, I'm not.
You're a Democrat.
No, I'm not.
Clothing.
No, I'm not. You're a racist. Okay, but I'm going to start from square one here, and I'm going to make an analogy that even somebody like you might understand. She said, I'm still in my core beliefs and values. I haven't changed. So I'm going to give you an analogy where I
Who was she speaking to when she made that statement?
When your wife, hold on.
Who was she signaling to?
I don't know.
Why would you make that statement instead of just saying, I've changed my position.
I'm going to give you.
I think fracking is fine, but I also think pursuing clean energy is a better solution going forward.
I'm going to give you an analogy.
She's trying to straddle the fence, keep her base happy, knowing that, I still believe in that.
Hey, Mohammed.
My core beliefs are there.
Hey, Mohammed.
But we can have a little bit.
Hey, Mohammed. How about shut up and let me talk? What do you think about that for 20 seconds? Can we do that? Thank you. I appreciate it.
Go for it.
Oh,
go for it.
That's
I'm channeling my best Chris Wynn.
Yeah, well, it's very kind of you to let me talk on my own show. Thank you so much. I'm going to give you an analogy that I think somebody like you can understand. I would imagine every woman that you've ever met in your life, when they saw you naked, they probably were turned off and they probably never wanted to see you naked again. Now, it doesn't mean that women can't fall in love with you. Like if you have a woman that falls in love with you, they'll say, hey, I love you for who you are. I doubt that would be true with any woman in your life. But let's just say hypothetically you do have a woman that loves you. They're still going to stick to their core value that even though they love you and they care about you, they're not physically attracted to you and they maintain their core values. Does that hit home for you, Mohammed? Does that make sense? That analogy?
That makes a lot of sense.
Okay,
Maybe you should talk a little bit about your girl Kamala's position on Israel. Since you're Jewish, how do you feel about their position on Israel? Because
I feel fine with it.
I find it hard to believe that you'd support what they're doing.
So what are they doing? What are they doing?
Really?
Really? What are they doing?
You're good with it?
I'd
like you to declare now that you're comfortable and 100% support the way Biden and Harris have handled.
I'll answer that, and I'll answer that. I'll answer that. Okay. First off, because then we got to take a break. I'm running late here. She has maintained, as Joe Biden has maintained, Israel has a right to defend themselves. Hamas is a terrorist organization. They've been around since the mid-'80s. She talked extensively about Hamas, how they need to be conquered. With that being said, we have a lot of innocent people that have died in Gaza. A lot of innocent Palestinians have died, including young children. And Israel also has a responsibility for the least amount of casualties. Now, it's a very complex and difficult issue because you have Hamas infiltrating themselves around innocent Palestinian people. Very difficult. What we can say is that a two-state solution would work. Now, I'm not saying that there would never be any more terrorist attacks. A ceasefire would save lives. I 150% back the Harris-Biden administration and their position on the Israel-Palestinian conflict. And I would also say my analogy to women in your life, I think, probably hit home to you, sir. I appreciate the call, Muhammad. Thank you so much. Here's what we have to do now. I know I have a lot of other people on hold. Got to take a break. Ilana Drobkin is going to be joining us here for the next segment. Get her thoughts on the interview. Also, Joe Walsh's opinion on this interview. We'll get to his audio coming up here in a few. Nelson, Joseph, Stephen, Mark, we'll get to all your calls coming up next at 702-221-7283. Muhammad, I hope you have a nice day. And as I say to JD, I will also say to you, make sure you take off that those Donald Trump knee pads before you go to sleep, my friend, because you are complicit and you are in denial. We'll take a quick break. We'll be back right after this. It's Pushing the Limits. Before I take a break, I just want to say, please do me a favor. This is a independently owned radio show. What does that mean? I'll tell you exactly what it means. It means that we are funded because of good people like yourself. So what can you do to help us out on this show? Check out the website, pushingthelimits.live. Again, that website is pushingthelimits.live. We sell great merchandise up there, mugs, hats, T-shirts, beanies, you name it, we got it. If you don't want to buy any merchandise, no problem. You could support us by the donate button, which is right on the front page there at pushingthelimits.live. Check it out. We'll take a quick break. We'll be back in 2 minutes. We got some bills to pay. Ilana Drobkin is joining us, taking a break. You're listening to Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP.
Paid for by Ron Quince for Congress.
All right, welcome back. It is Pushing the Limits on a Friday. Thank you so much for joining us. Check out my good friends, the official gaming bar of the PTL radio show, Jackson's Bar and Grill, located in Flamingo and Jones. Great promotions this month, including if anybody hits a jackpot in the bar, you get a $20 slot credit. That's right, $20 in free slot play within 24 hours at Jackson's Bar and Grill. Great food, great atmosphere, the official gaming bar of Las Vegas, I should say, of the PTL radio show. Jackson's Bar and Grill, check them out. All right, joining us in studio, it is Ilana Drobkin to get, of course, her perspective from the left, a female perspective as well. So speaking of the female perspective, Ilana, and thank you so much for being here, I had to ask you about this. So Elise Stefanik, who I think is just despicable.
Yes.
She said the interview on CNN is offensive to women in the country. I'm not kidding. She said that on social media.
Did she clarify what exactly was offensive of?
Because she refused to do a solo interview that's offensive to women, but yet the man who she supports, Donald Trump, the liable rapist, sexual abuser himself, 5 kids with 3 women, that's not offensive to women at all. Attacking women on looks, that's okay. But because I'm not making this up, because Kamala Harris did an interview with Tim Walz, that's offensive to women. Ilana, what is your thought on that?
I think they have to find something that's to just say stuff so that they're just, it's like they're throwing everything at a wall and hoping something will stick. But I will tell you, that last caller, because I was sitting in the studio, I felt like I was in school. I kept raising my hand. I'm like, please call on me. Please call on me. I just want to go back to some of the things that the previous caller said, Muhammad, and also even JD. I have no idea what they're talking about. I'm not sure they know what they're talking about. First of all, the last, and I actually looked this up because I wanted to make sure I was right, but the last interview that Trump did, he walked out on because he couldn't handle the questions. And so I'm just confused as to what, I mean, they're going to come up with conspiracy theories. They have to, right? But the fact is, she's up in the polls. She's gaining traction, and her ceiling is higher than you know, it's where the Democrats want it to be. It's still going up. So they have to attack her on something, but who cares that she brought Walz? Good. It introduces him to the country more. People have only gotten to know him in the last few weeks, so it's right that
my only criticism, as I said earlier, on Tim Walz is when he's asked the question about, I used the weapon of war, in war, when he said that, and obviously he misspoke. If the guy wanted to lie to everybody and say, I was in war, I think he would have done it maybe more than 1-2 second slip up. I just wish he would just answer the question and say, I misspoke. I apologize. Let's move on. Instead, he made some weird, to me, it was a strange answer, and I think we all make mistakes. We're all human.
Right.
There's a difference between intentionally doing something and making a mistake. Just say you made a mistake. That part, I actually thought she did fine in the interview.
I think she did too.
She was fine. And for this guy to call in and say there were 6 or 7 takes.
No. How would anyone know that? Well, they don't release that information.
There's no evidence. There's no evidence to prove any of that.
But not only that, okay, now I'll say I've actually read this about some of the takeaways from people is that she tends to speak in circles, but she's also an attorney. That's kind of what they do. They're trained to do that. So the fact that anyone has issues with that, but here's my question. Why are Democrats and Republicans not treated equally in all this? Because the Republicans lie. They intentionally misspeak. And they change their positions. Now Trump is changing on abortion right now. He's all for IVF. Everyone should have IVF if everyone wants it, and the government's going to pay for it. So that's the new stuff. But why aren't we talking about that? Why are we focusing on just everything?
Well, here's the part that frustrates me. And while I agree that Kamala should probably do a few more interviews maybe before the debate, I would rather have somebody not do an interview than somebody do interviews and press conferences and lie and consistently lie and say things that are 100% not factually accurate and talk about electrocuting sharks and talk about Hannibal Lecter and say 75% of the country supports me.
And
then go to Arlington Cemetery and by the way, going to Arlington Cemetery And it turns out that, they broke the law. They broke the rules. So, I'd rather somebody do that.
And then calling the person who worked there names and trying to, that's just bad.
Yeah.
It's mean. So why aren't we talking more about that? Why are we fixated on, he misspoke and he's not saying he misspoke, when the other side, they don't just misspeak, they lie.
Yeah.
So let's
question.
focus on that, not on
no question.
But I agree with you. He should, and all I can say is that I think being governor of a smaller state and then going and doing national has to be a bit shocking to the most seasoned politician.
No doubt.
And so I'm going to give him a little bit of grace on maybe trying to still find his footing.
No. And again, before we get, because we have a lot of people waiting on hold, I want to get to the calls, but in closing, I think we both would agree she did just fine.
She did.
The interview was just fine. Everything was just fine.
And I don't care to see her in interviews. Like, I
they're
already know we know her positions.
And they're going to move the goalposts, these far right-wing Republican, MAGA Republicans, and they're always going to have an excuse. If they're not going after her with sexual innuendos, if they're not going after Tim Walz, going after his special needs son, if they're not misrepresenting the truth, every single day, they'll come up with something new. All right, let's get to the phone calls now. And the number to call again, if you want to be a part of the conversation, is 702-221-7283. I think I want to start with Stephen. I believe we have Stephen who's waiting patiently on hold. Hi, Stephen. Thanks for calling in. What's on your mind?
Hey, Brian. How are you?
Good.
I noticed earlier you were talking about analogies, and I just wanted to see what you thought about my analogy. So if you ordered a 10-slice pepperoni pizza at a pizza place and only one slice of the pepperoni pizza actually had pepperoni on it, would you call it a pepperoni pizza?
If I ordered a pepperoni pizza and one slice of pepperoni was on the pizza, I would call it a partial pepperoni pizza.
So why would you call the border bill a border bill?
Because it's a border bill.
That's exactly what it is.
Because that's what it is. The majority. Hold on, I'm answering your question. The majority of the bill addressed the border. There were other issues in the border bill, but the majority of the bill put forth addressed the border. So I don't understand. Are you saying it's not a border bill? Is that what you're trying to? I'm trying to understand.
Yeah, exactly. I'm saying 17% of the funds actually went to the border, and 83% went to Ukraine.
Okay, so it's not a border bill because of that. Is that what you're saying?
So why are they marketing it as a border bill?
Because it's a border bill. Because it's a border bill. The main reason why Republicans, I'm telling you, the main reason why Republicans and Democrats got to the bargaining table was for addressing the border. Yes, they addressed a lot of other issues as well, including our allies in the Ukraine. Absolutely. But to say that it's not a border bill is, I'm sorry, that's just you're not being factually accurate.
Would you say it's more of a Ukraine bill or a border bill?
I would say it started as a border bill, and there's other things in the bill that address other problems as well.
Which is how that's how legislation works, though. Wait, but that's how legislation works. That's how legislation works. Most bills are not just one thing. No, that's how legislation works. No, that is how legislation works. That is how life works. That is how laws work. That is exactly how that works. So you can't say that this is an anomaly. It's not.
All right, so let's move on from that.
Let's go with your point, though. Let's go with your point. Let's say it is a border bill. Why do we need Congress to secure the border?
Why do we need Congress to secure the border? Because they're the ones that will help allocate funds in addressing issues at the border. That's why.
So why was illegal immigration lowest under Trump?
The president of the United States can close the border, and I hear people like you saying, why don't they close the border? But the bottom line is Donald Trump didn't close the border when he was president, did he?
You can't.
Lowest record immigration ever. Lowest.
Okay, so right now there are less people crossing the border illegally than there were when Donald Trump left office. Are you aware of that statistic, sir?
Oh, okay, let's go with your point. Then
no. It's not a point. It's a fact, sir.
No, that is fact.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Let's say you're right. I don't think you're right. Let's say you're right. Let's go with that.
I don't really care what you think. It's a fact. The earth isn't flat, and there's less people crossing the border now than they were when Donald Trump left office. Now, sir, how long has this been a problem?
Why do you need Congress? Why do you need Congress?
I'm asking you a question.
Who do you think funds it?
Yeah, who's going to fund it? I mean, that's
how do you think funding works? Like maybe we need to start teaching this stuff in school a little bit.
Hey, let me ask you a question. So why did Donald Trump call these Republican senators and tell them not to pass this bill? It's because he just didn't like the bill? You think that's what it was?
You don't need Congress to secure the border.
You don't need Congress to secure the border. I see. So where are they going to get the funds from? The president can just say, hey, we're going to allocate $20 billion for the border, Congress, and there's nothing you can do about it? Do you not understand how a bill is passed and how funding works in politics? I mean, I can't reason with you if that's your argument, sir.
I'm saying you don't need a bill to be passed at all. You just need an executive order. That's all you need.
Okay, so what executive orders did Donald Trump pass when he was president, when it came to the border?
What was the Title 31?
Did he close down the border? Did he close it down?
No.
I'm saying it had the lowest legal immigration.
You're a broken record, but you're not answering my question. I didn't ask you about statistics. He didn't close down the border. Let me ask you a question. You're voting for Donald Trump, right, sir?
Oh, of course.
Okay, of course, yes. Okay, so no problem. Let me ask you a question. Does it bother you that he still hasn't conceded the 2020 election, or do you believe he won the 2020 election, sir? Since we're on the topic,
I can't say he won it or didn't win it.
You can't say he won it or not. So, sir, is the Earth flat or is the Earth round? It's a serious question, by the way.
Well, you didn't let me explain my point.
Well, you don't have to, because you can't actually say with certainty that with no okay, let me ask you this then. Is there any evidence of widespread voter fraud being put forth that could prove that the election was stolen? Yes or no?
I say there's election interference.
That's okay.
Wait. What news sources do you listen to? That usually tells us. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I listen to CNN when they.
Okay, let's forget about the news sources for a moment. Let's go back to my Let's go back to my original question. Okay, where is the evidence that would suggest that there was widespread voter fraud that could have changed the outcome of the election? Go.
I'm not.
But it sounds like you got a Joe Biden stutter, sir. What happened there? I'll ask you one more time. Answer the question. Answer the question. Where is the evidence of widespread voter fraud that could have changed the outcome of the free and fair election? It ain't 2,000 mules, and it's not that moron Mike Lindell. Answer the question.
That's not my point. You're putting words in my mouth.
I'm waiting for you to answer the damn question. Answer it.
I'm not going to answer a question.
Because you can't answer it. You know why? Because there's no widespread voter fraud. And the earth isn't flat, you bozo. Have a nice day.
Because they had lawsuit after lawsuit, inquiry after inquiry. And that's why. So that's the simple answer to that. But now the reason I was asking what is his news source, because that usually kind of dictates what they're coming with, right? And so the fact is him and the last several callers are low information voters. And that's who Trump excels with. It's the people who are ill-informed or not informed.
And listen, there's no problem if you have a stutter. I think we're both sensitive to that,
right,
Joe
absolutely.
Biden. But it is interesting, though, because in that phone call, I feel like he developed a stutter. I think it developed during the call, because when a MAGA is given actual facts and they can't answer direct questions, all of a sudden they're in the bunker and all of a sudden they have a stutter. Well, have a nice day, sir.
But the problem is they won't admit that they're facts. Like they still won't admit that they're facts. Like there's facts and then there's opinions and they don't know which is which.
Yeah.
They really don't understand what a fact is.
You see,
and that's
when asked
problem.
Basic questions such as, is there evidence to suggest that the election could have been overturned? Obviously the answer is no. And he was caught and he didn't know what to say. But yet when I asked him who won the 2020 election, well, geez, I don't know. I don't have an answer either way. That's like somebody saying, is the earth flat or is it round? If somebody asked me, hey, Brian, is the sky purple? Is it red or is it blue? Oh, boy, I don't know. I can hear an argument either way. I really don't know. No, you'd call me crazy. Okay. If somebody said, is the earth flat or is it round? And I said, boy, I really don't know. I really don't know if I can answer that question. Okay, so he'd call me crazy.
I just want to give him the benefit of the doubt a little bit, is the fact that at least he didn't say, well, no, Donald Trump won the election. At least we made some progress.
Yeah, I guess so.
So let's take our little wins where we can get it right. Like I think it's good.
I don't know if that was a win, but at least I got a MAGA guy to stutter. That's good. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Let's go to Herb. Herb is next up on PTL. Hello, Herb.
Hey, guys. How y'all doing?
Good. What's on your mind today?
I just found you today, man. I can't believe I just got in on this call, but I enjoy I've been all over your Twitter, just listening to you go off, and it's been enjoyable. I've been listening to talk radio for years. I was born in 1975. I've been listening to right wing radio for years.
Oh no!
And everything has come to fruition of where we are. I listen to it as an observer, but one of the things I don't really have anything to say other than the fact that I have been able to not get so upset with Trump supporters once I realized that it wasn't Donald Trump making Trump supporters be this way. This is Trump supporters who actually make Donald Trump is pliable. They can make him into anything he wants to be because he has this condition of self-aggrandizement and wanting to be relevant. So he's like Plato. They can make him into anything that they want him to be. All he needs to do is get a sense and go, okay, this is what they want me to do.
Yeah.
He doesn't have a decency gene. He doesn't have a thought. My biggest worry or my biggest complaint about Donald Trump is that he's not thoughtful. He doesn't have the ability. That's why he scrambles and messes up everything. He tells a woman.
Well, I got to
who just
tell you
lost,
something. I think Kamala Harris is going to wipe the floor clean with him on the 10th. I really do.
I think we don't listen. Nobody knows anything, to be honest with you. I'm voting for Kamala Harris. I want to be done with Donald Trump so bad. I'm tired of our country. I'm not saying that Kamala is going to go in there and everything's going to be perfect. I don't think that about any candidate. I don't think that about anyone in our politics. Only that we need to keep progressing forward and try to make our lives better.
I agree with you. But I'll ask both of you this question. And it seems like every day there's something new when it comes to Trump and his campaign. What would you say about a group of people, in this case, the Trump and his campaign staff, that show up to Arlington Cemetery and they're told there's a certain area of the cemetery that there are no photographers, no video, nothing campaign stuff. You're not allowed to do any of that stuff. And they physically assault this woman and they make it seem like they allowed them in that area when they've showed no evidence to the contrary. And the reason why they have that law in place at the cemetery is because so situations like this don't happen. Example, you might have one family that supports Trump, but the next grave site that was in the pictures do not. That's why they have those rules and regulations. What do you say about a group of people? I mean, listen, you want to talk about memes. I put up a meme today. Part of it was serious and part of it was joking to show how ridiculous this campaign is. It's a picture of Donald Trump with a golf club at the cemetery. And I put as the headline, no big deal. Donald Trump is just playing through. The campaign says they were given the right to do so. Now, obviously, it's meant as a joke, but it's also part serious because this is how ridiculous and disrespectful the campaign is to not just women and people in general, but brave men and women who lost their lives and give up the most sacrifice. It's all you need to know about Trump and the people that work underneath him.
Very true.
What needs to be understood, and I wish all my MAGA, all my friends who try to talk to MAGA, I hear all the horror stories and families. I know what it's like, but what people need to understand, January 6th, not even January 6th, go back to 2015 at Trump rallies where people were getting beaten up.
Right. You
have to understand nothing is sacred when it comes to them wanting Donald Trump in the office. Nothing is sacred. Absolutely. The Constitution could take they could rip it up. They will rip up the Constitution if it means Donald Trump.
I think the only thing I agree with you, sir. Great phone call, and I'm glad you found the show, Herb. You call back anytime.
You should run for office.
Yeah,
you should think of running for office.
I'll tell you, tell me if you disagree. The things that are sacred to Donald Trump, certainly his orange makeup. He wakes up in the morning. That's probably the first thing. His hair transplant doctor, right? That's very sacred.
His money, his Trump Tower,
his golf courses, right? Yep. His golf courses. These are the things, they say in life, objects are not the most important thing in life. The most important thing in life are friends and family, right?
I agree with that.
It is objects
for him.
And it goes to show you the type of person that he is, right?
Oh, for sure.
He only cares what people think of him. He only wants to be the man that looks strong, the king, the leader. He wants to be a dictator like a Kim Jong-un.
And there's a cluelessness about that, right? Because you're standing you really are in, sacred ground there, and you have a thumbs up and you're smiling and you don't think that would be perceived poorly.
Yeah.
So there's just, I mean, it's way more than an ignorance. He's missing that ability to understand situation. And it was clearly a photo op, and no military person should even think about voting for him. And the fact that anybody is trying to dismiss it, or I mean, gosh, if it was Biden that did that, I mean, they would have ran him off years ago. I mean,
One
could you
second,
imagine?
he looks at his watch, and they still talk about that. 702-221-7283. All right, we have another MAGA caller on the line. I love my MAGA
fun.
callers. Let's go to another Herb. Another Herb is joining us. Hello, Herb.
Yeah, this is the.
Hi, Herb, you're breaking up.
Herb, are you there?
Herb, you're breaking up.
It's always unfortunate when my MAGA callers use Obama phones. It's very unfortunate. 702-221-7283. Herb, you're welcome to call back. Let's go to Mark. Mark, what's going on, man?
Oh, what a shame, man. I wanted to hear what Herb had to say. Oh, my Lord. Anyway, I think I'm going to talk about the interview. I don't think Kamala Harris hit a home run, but I don't think she did any harm, but she could have done a lot better. And let me give you a few instances. But first I want to say, what is with Dana Bash? Her first question is, do you know Trump didn't call you black? Is that your first question?
Well, as
to a
I've said, Mark,
interview?
Mark, as I've said from, well, I'm not going to say from day one, but for months now, I don't think Dana Bash is very good at her job. There's a lot of other people that they could have put in that chair, and I don't think Dana Bash was anywhere near the top of the list. So I'm very disappointed.
I don't think CNN was a good choice neither.
Maybe not, but I think there are good journalists at CNN. If it was a Caitlin Collins, for example, even a Wolf Blitzer, Jake Tapper, I think, he's disappointed me a little bit lately, but overall, he's had a good career and he's a really good. I just think Dana Bash is like the last person on the list there.
Did you know Kate Collins was a MAGA?
I didn't know that, but to be honest with you, I don't really care because I think she does a good job. I think she's very fair.
Okay, as far as the interview, I really believe that Kamala Harris missed a lot of opportunities. They really took the high road, and like Michelle Obama said, take the high road, but
I agree.
We're at a point where you don't take it.
I agree, specifically when she asked the question about Trump going after you for your lack of being black. Yeah. I understand her answer.
Well, not only that, I think she missed a great opportunity when Dana Bash asked her about the economy and said, do you really think your economy was any better, basically, than Trump's? And all she had to say was, do you remember walking into a store begging that there was toilet paper on the shelves?
Yeah.
Do you remember when the basic necessities were not on the shelves? Do you remember Trump stating that COVID is a Democratic hoax?
Yeah.
That's all you have to mention about the economy.
So I think that is very fair criticism, Mark. I think she did fine.
Yep.
I didn't go on the air today and say she knocked it out of the park. I didn't go on the air today and say she did an A+ job. She did fine. I don't think she moved the needle. Republicans are going to go after her no matter what. She needs to do more interviews. I think she needs to do a press conference. I think she needs to be in front of 30 or 40 reporters everywhere. CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, OAN, you name it. And just say, come at me. I'm ready. That's what I want to see from Kamala Harris.
Okay, can I give another side to that? I want to give another side to the whole debate thing. For one, she's not the attack dog is always the vice president candidate or the vice president. It is not the president. It is not her job, nor should it be, because then independents, like those swing voters that she needs, that's a turnoff. So she's not talking to the base on here. So I want to tell you, like, she didn't answer that because that's not what they do, and nor should she from a political standpoint, right? And I'm not sure I fully agree that she should. First of all, she's up in the polls. It is so easy when you're tired and you have that amount of pressure to slip up, and that becomes the story and not the momentum.
Yeah, she didn't slip up. She didn't.
No. I'm just talking about moving forward, like why it's probably a bad idea, like why I wouldn't advise her.
Yeah, but here's
you're
what
down to like
here's what I would say to that.
Early voting starts.
I understand what you're saying, Ilana, but here's what I would say to that. You can't not do an interview or not do a press conference in fear that you might slip up.
Right. I get that, but you don't want to do like a bunch of them. She has the debate coming up. She's going around the country and she's still vice president, right? So with all of that, you still have to be cognizant. Like she wants to also do no harm.
I thought she did fine yesterday. I don't think it
too.
moves the needle in either direction. Let's get back to the phone
and
calls.
that's a win for her.
Yes.
Right?
It's definitely not a loss. 702-221-7283 is the number. We're going to go back to Herb, Maga Herb, who is on a bad line there. Herb, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you fine. Can you hear me?
Yes, Herb.
Okay. I just wanted to say that discussion you had, Brian, with Muhammad was outstanding. However, I think he knocked you out in the third round. That was a cold TKO, buddy. Listen, one more thing. I remember when Trump had the office, he allowed, he set a program with Mexico to have the asylum seekers that were coming to the United States. He had them stay in Mexico until they had a court date or something. Didn't they have a program like that?
You're asking me if they had a program like that. Your phone's going in and out a little bit, Herb. I would just want to go back earlier to what you just said because I'm very confused by it.
Me too.
What do you mean by a third round knockout? What are you talking about?
Oh, I think he brought up some points that you could bring up. That's why you switched the conversation to other things about voting and whether or not there was some voter registration problems and all that. You switched the argument.
Okay, so be specific with me. You're not being specific.
From now on, you're called Mr. Democrat. That's okay. The name from now on.
I'm sorry. What did you say, Herb? I didn't hear what you said. What did you say about a Democrat?
From now on, your name from now on is Mr. Democrat.
I'm a Democrat.
But he's not, but I am.
Okay.
And I want to say he switched up the conversation. Hold on. He switched up the conversation. Hold on, Herb. He switched up the conversation because you can't argue with dumb. And so because Muhammad couldn't come up with.
Dumb?
Well, no, I'm calling Muhammad dumb.
Okay,
but,
so Herb, let's not be dumb. Okay,
fits.
Hey Herb, let's not be dumb. Let's have a conversation. Okay, so I'm going to give you some facts, and you could tell me if you think I'm lying. Okay, sound fair? I've been a registered Democrat, I've been a registered independent my entire life. Okay, I did not vote for Barack Obama. I did not. Hold on, I'm not done yet. I need you to see. That's the problem. You're not listening. I'm going to start over. Okay, Herb.
Many times, Brian.
Herb. Okay, so if you know my voting record. And you know that I'm a registered independent. What is your argument? Because it sounds like I just knocked you out in the first round. Hey, Herb, you're Leon Spinks and I'm Mike Tyson. What do you think about that, buddy? You're Peter McNeely and I'm Mike Tyson. See, I thought you would laugh at that because that's kind of funny.
I like the boxing references.
All right, go ahead, Herb. I like you, Herb. Go ahead.
I do too.
All I have to say is you have a name for us voters as men. So I got a name for you, and I hope all the conservative voters that call into your program have a name, and that's Mr. Democrat. That's which.
All right. Well, I have a name for you, and we'll let you go. And I'll say this, Herb, and I appreciate the phone call. You are MAGA Obama phone Herb. You need to buy a new phone. Thank you for the call.
But I will say you're one of the nicer MAGA callers. So, and I will tell you, I appreciate that.
All right. 702-221-7283. That was a knockout in the first round. Let's go to Gary. Hey, Gary, what's up?
This is deplorable Garrity, you, sir.
Garrity?
How the hell are you?
Oh. Hello, Gary.
Hey.
I didn't call you deplorable.
You know me.
said that. Oh,
I said that.
All right. Well, you said it, not me.
I'm saying it.
Go ahead.
Hey, you wouldn't have Trump, Mr. Independent guy, and all your fellow Democrats. You wouldn't have that if you weren't so whacked out and what do you call it? Can't do reasonable things like build a damn wall already and get it over with.
Well, Trump didn't build a wall actually at all, so I don't know what you're talking about
because
there.
The
but
politicians, all of the politicians.
Here's what I want, Gary. You tell me. Okay, I am in favor. All right, so Gary, here's a Brian Shapiro policy position on the wall. You ready for this? I want to know both of your opinions on this. Here's what I want, Gary. Okay. I want to build a wall in this country. So no middle-aged white MAGA supporters that have an IQ under 20 can come in. What do you think about that?
There you go.
Except they're
I want to call it the average normal person MAGA wall. What do you think about that, Gary? I'll help fund it. Will you help me?
I think you know what I think is ridiculous. You claim to be an independent. No,
I don't claim to be. I am. I don't claim to be. I am.
And all right, Mr. Argument.
No, it's just Mr. Facts.
So
go ahead.
does right wing guys like Steven Sanchez. He's an independent too. And
I don't know who that is, so I can't speak to that. But all I can do is speak for myself. All I can do is speak for myself. And I lean to the left on social issues. I voted for 8 Republicans in the 2022 midterms. I'll be honest with you, I have nothing in common with MAGA Republicans, and it sounds like I don't have a lot in common with you, Gary. But go ahead.
If you didn't talk so much, this show would be more interesting. So
okay, I appreciate that, Gary. Have a nice day.
Well, there are a lot of other shows that you could tune in and
go
watch
listen.
as well.
Go listen to your Mark Levin. Go listen to your Sean Hannity. Go listen to your Laura Ingraham and your Tucker Carlson, because they certainly interview people on the other side, right? They're very fair. Give me a break, Gary. I understand now why you call yourself deplorable. It actually makes sense to me. It's the only thing you said in the call that I actually agree with. 702. By the way, you wouldn't be able to get through my border wall. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Michael. Michael is next up. What's up, Michael?
Hi, Brian. Love your show. I've been listening to you since April this year, and I'm really impressed.
Thank you, Michael. I appreciate that.
So I love everything you say about Trump, and I think all his MAGA supporters are worthless piece of crap. I have another word to say it, but I'm going to keep it PG for you guys.
Okay.
So my mom's a Trump. Well, she was a Trump supporter. I want to say that first. She's not a Trump supporter anymore. She's not going to vote for him. She's voted for him twice. And you know, she's gotten this Trump thing she got a Trump letter in the mail the other day, and basically he wanted to ask her for money, and she was like, Michael, throw that thing in the trash. I'm not giving him any of my money, and just throw it away because I'm not going to vote for him this year. She's trying to get a Kamala vote. She's trying to hear more about Kamala, because at first she wasn't on the basically on the train with Kamala, but lately she's been okay with her policies.
Right.
She likes how Kamala has more class than Trump.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's
a low bar.
That's for sure. There's definitely a low bar there, but I'll tell you, she is a classy lady. Can I ask you something? Because something just entered my mind. I'll ask both of you. I've never heard anybody, I've been doing radio for over 20 years. I never heard anybody call in and complain that a talk show host talks too much. It's kind of like if you go to a concert. Gary's the kind of guy that goes to a concert and says the lead singer sings too much. Or if you go to a chef and say, you go to a chef and you say you cook too much. Or if you go to, he's the kind of guy that goes to a comedy show and says to the comic, you tell too many jokes. I don't know.
Well, Brian, do you notice how uneducated these people are?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
That's exactly what it is.
Yeah. I mean, and they make me look smarter. And I'm not saying I'm stupid by any means. I process things slower than others, but I still get to the bottom result.
Right.
But, you know, some of these people, like, I just listen to them and I'm like, wow, did they really just say that?
My man, they're the same people that buy the Trump Bibles. They're the same people that sport their Confederate flags. They're the same people that buy $600 gold sneakers, and they probably complain that they don't have any money and they're getting help from the government. These are the same people that believe every single word that Orange Man says. They are cult. That's why we call it a cult.
Right. And you know what, Brian? So I live in north of Dallas. I live in Plano. It's like a mix nowadays. Lately it's been more conservative, but lately there's been some purple in it too. And a lot of these people that live in my neighborhood in Plano, they're not all bad people. They're very nice people. They're just swayed the wrong way.
They're brainwashed. And I think, listen, and you're so right. And I appreciate you calling in, my friend. Thank you so much.
Me too. And I think you're very intelligent.
Yes.
I really appreciate that. And I appreciate that your mom is learning more about Harris. And
there are people
like that
in this country. Some people are smarter than others.
Yep.
Okay. And that's okay. But the problem is there are people that are ill-informed.
Right.
That might not be the brightest people in the world. And I'm going to tell you something. Donald Trump is right about a few things. First of all, he could shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue and they'll still support him. But you know what? He was right about something else, because Stephanie Grisham said at the DNC, I once heard Donald Trump tell me, if you say something over and over and over again, even if it's not true, they're going to believe it.
And that's the genius of Donald Trump.
Right. And when you,
well,
I wouldn't call him a genius, but if you find somebody that is ill-informed, that is not very bright, I would use the term gullible. If you say something over and over again, like the election was stolen, it's rigged, these kinds of people will believe it. And those people are Donald Trump's base. Make no mistake about it.
Education is the linchpin, and this is kind of where it's come home to roost when you don't value education as a country and you don't put proper resources in, is that you have a big portion of the country that falls for a shyster. Like Trump, and that's what you have is just this lack of education.
Think about this. The one network, Trump calls CNN fake news and MSNBC and all these other, the one network that had to pay out over $800 million is not a liberal
CNN
network
or MSNBC,
because they intentionally lied about Dominion voting machines, and even the directors and the management at Fox News admitted that not only did they intentionally lie, but in prior lawsuits, people like Tucker Carlson shouldn't even be taken seriously because it's about entertainment, and they intentionally lied. But I don't hear Donald Trump or right-wingers calling Fox News fake news or OAN or Newsmax. You don't hear Newsmax talking about Dominion voting machines. Geez, I wonder why. Let's get back to the call. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Let's go to Joseph. Joseph is next. What's up, Joseph?
Yeah, hey, Brian. All right, here's my piece. Hearing Kamala Harris and Tim Walz's interview, I still say that Kamala Harris has a chance against Trump. Now, I know Tim Walz, he did misspoke once, but at least he's trying, but he's still going for it. I say he's still got a chance against J.D. Vance as well. And also, hearing those MAGA callers makes me think, like I say, no wonder they're screwing up. They're probably getting more education from the Trump University, which is failing.
Hey, Joseph, I want you to stay on the line for a moment, Joseph, because I want to play some audio.
Okay.
We have cut number 2. Cut number 2. I want to play this for both of you and for the listeners out there. J.D. Vance put up a meme yesterday of the former South Carolina pageant winner who struggled answering questions. And J.D. Vance put up a tweet making fun of her, comparing her to Kamala Harris. Now, because J.D. Vance is so ignorant and deplorable, he didn't know that this woman who won this pageant suffered from anxiety and depression and almost killed herself.
Over this.
And I want you to listen to this moment, Berman on CNN, asking J.D. Vance to apologize, which he refuses to do. Have a listen to this.
Night after CNN released a small clip of the Harris interview, you on Twitter posted a clip from a Miss Teen USA beauty pageant from 2007, Caitlin Upton, and you wrote, "I have gotten a hold of the full Kamala Harris CNN interview." Now, this thing that surfaced around the internet for a few years, she had, she struggled answering a question back in this beauty pageant. I'm not sure you're aware, in 2015, Caitlin Upton did an interview in New York Magazine about all the social media attention this clip got. And she said, "I definitely went through a period where I was very, very depressed, but I never let anybody see that stuff except for people I could trust. I had some very dark moments where I thought about committing suicide." So when you posted this last night, were you aware that the woman you were posting a picture of had contemplated committing suicide for the attention it received?
No, certainly not, John, and my heart goes out to her, and I hope that she's doing well. Look, I've said a lot of things on camera. I've said a lot of stupid things on camera. Sometimes when you're in the public eye, you make mistakes. And again, I think the best way to deal with it is to laugh at ourselves, laugh at this stuff, and try to have some fun in politics. I posted a meme from 20 years ago, and I think the fact that we're talking about that instead of the fact that American families can't afford groceries or health care, young families can't afford to buy a home to raise their families in, those are the real crises that we should focus on. And there's nothing that says that we can't tell some jokes along the way while we deal with the very serious business of bringing back our public policy. Politics has gotten way too lame, John, way too boring. You can have some fun while making a good argument to the American people about how you're going to improve their lives.
Okay, I just want to be clear, though. You said you did know. Would you like to apologize to Caitlin Upton for posting that last night, given what you've now learned?
John, I'm not going to apologize for posting a joke, but I wish the best for Caitlin. I hope that she's doing well. And again, what I'd say is one bad moment shouldn't define anybody, and the best way to deal with this stuff is to laugh at ourselves.
All right, so my quick response to that, this is a woman who almost killed herself because, and his response is, well, let's just laugh it off. Let's just have fun. When any decent, normal human being would say, I was wrong, I apologize to her and her family, I was unaware, and then we can move on. Joseph, what do you say to that?
I say that's a pathetic excuse from J.D. Vance because he's more worse than Trump because he doesn't care if people commit suicide. Even J.D. Vance doesn't care about it. I bet if I would say to them that let's see if they could try to re-jog their memories because I bet that's what J.D. Vance and Trump, Mark Robinson and Marjorie Taylor Greene would know what jog is. It's what J.D. Vance would do when he sees a moving van with a couch when it's pulling out.
Yeah. Listen, I agree with you completely, Joseph. Thank you for the call. Ileana, what do you make of that?
So you're a reporter, right? That's your training.
Used
That's
to
been
be,
your
yep.
vacation. Well,
Yep.
yeah, that's right. Wouldn't you ask if you're the reporter? How do you put it back on Vance and say, do you think that was a joke? You're minimizing that. Do you think that was funny?
Well, here's what I would say. I'm glad you asked that.
Right?
Here's the way I would have handled that. First of all, I thought the first question was very accurate.
Right.
This is what I don't like about some of these people on CNN.
that
They
it
don't
didn't
press
go.
hard enough. Here's what I would have said. This
Right.
would have been my follow-up. Mr. Vance, I just gave you the background that this woman was seriously contemplating killing herself. Your response is we should just be able to laugh and have fun. Why can't you say you're sorry? That's what I would have
And
said.
not only that, why do you keep calling it a joke? It is not a joke.
No, it's not a joke. Not when you're talking about a woman.
And she's young. She was young.
You know what I would have said? Do you think all the right-wing attacks, I'm not saying you said this, Mr. Vance, but the right-wing attacks on Tim Walz's son, who loves his dad, are you willing to call out the Ann Coulters and those on the right that were making fun of Gus Waltz? I would have put it right on him. But these CNN anchors, some of them are so soft.
They don't say anything back. I agree with you.
I am getting really angry with some
I
of them.
was more annoyed with the reporter than I was with Vance, just kind of allowing him to keep calling it a joke and frame it in a way of, we just need to have some lively, because that is a counter to the Harris's and the Harris-Walz campaign of the joy, the joy campaign. So his is to counter saying, it's too serious. It's too stuffy. We have to joke more. It is not a joke. You want to tell a joke? Do stand up.
Yeah.
But,
I agree.
But,
that
don't
answer,
use this young girl
And
as a joke.
Well, I wasn't big on Tim Walz's answer yesterday in the interview, and I did criticize him a little bit for that. It is nothing compared to that response from J.D. Vance. We're talking about decency versus badness, bad people.
Right, they're just mean. They're
no
just
question.
mean
I agree.
people. They're bullies.
702-221-7283. Let's go to Tracy, who's next up on PTL. Hello, Tracy.
Well, hi, you guys. Happy Friday. How are you?
Tracy.
Well, I just wanted to comment first on the interview. Like you, Brian, I don't think it helped. I don't think it hurt either.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of things that they keep talking about, the fracking thing. First of all, I didn't know about the fracking thing, and that really doesn't impact my decision. You know what I'm saying? But if we're going to, bring up things from the past, why aren't they focusing on the fact that in 2016, Trump was very clear about how he doesn't think a candidate under federal investigation has a right to be running, or that they should be even governing?
Yeah.
I mean, the hypocrisy there. I mean, it's
yes, and all of it.
I mean, I know I go through this every day and it's exhausting, but just the other day we had Trump at Arlington Cemetery disrespecting our brave men and women by being in an area with photographers when you weren't supposed to be in that area, then lying about it. And now we have J.D. Vance, who thinks it's funny to mock women, particularly somebody who has depression and anxiety from 20 years ago, from an answer that she struggled to give in a pageant. And he thinks it's funny to this day. What's the big deal? It's just something from 20 years ago. I mean, it's really dumbfounding me. And by the way, these are the same people that have a problem with people making jokes about him and a couch, right? Which, by the way, you're not really hurting anybody by doing that, but you can mock a woman who is suicidal. I just had it with these people.
And she was a teenager, right? Like that makes it even more despicable and deplorable and disgusting.
But I apologize. I'm talking too much. I'm sorry.
Hi, sorry.
Well, no, I know, because it's a very valid point, because you know what? The pushback is starting to happen now.
Right.
I'm seeing so many people on social media talking about how they're just not going to sit down and take it anymore. There is no, they go low, we go high. You know what I mean? And when you start calling them on their stuff, they're like, wait, what? You can't do that.
I agree.
Like, no,
I agree with just about everything Michelle Obama says in this day and age that we are living in. I disagree with her. When they go low, we go low. It doesn't mean we have to stoop to their level, but we have to combat them and put it in their own face. And I appreciate your phone call, Tracy. Thank you so much. Let's go to Trisha. Trisha is next up on PTL. Hi, Trisha.
Well, thank you for having me back, Brian. Sure. I was your 30-second girl on the first call, and then I was your 3-minute girl on the second call. So I hope.
Sounds like my sex life if I was Donald Trump, but I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Okay. First, I'd like to say that I support you financially and intellectually, and I want to tell everyone who's listening to the show, please donate to Brian so we could all get educated, including the MAGA morons.
Well, that's very sweet of you to say, and that means a lot to me. Thank you so much. Appreciate that.
You're very welcome. And then, second of all, I want to say that she answered some of my questions on the interview the other day, about, why didn't she do this on day one and blah, 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 because I have a lot of those questions, and she answered it. She said we were, bringing back, the country. We were getting it all back together. That's what we were doing. Mm-hmm. And so that's what I really, was excited to hear. She answered some of my questions.
Sure.
And when they have some of the CNN Republicans on, Brian, you're right. They just let them talk, Brian, constantly about, the economy and this and that and all the wrong facts and the, inflation and the gas prices and all these other Republicans that come on the show, and they don't give them the pushback facts. They just let them talk. Yeah. And that's what I don't like about
I'm not going to do that.
CNN.
And we have a big Trump surrogate who's going to be joining us. He makes the rounds on Fox News and CNN, and he's going to be joining us to start the show on Tuesday because we are taking a day off on Monday because of the holiday. And I can tell you right now, if they're just going to lie with their talking points, I'm not going to allow that to happen. There's a way to do it respectfully, but I'm just not going to allow that to happen. Thank you for calling in, my dear, and I really do appreciate your kind words.
Thank you so much.
Really means a lot to me. It really does. Thank you so much, Trisha. 702-221-7283 is the number to call if you'd like to be a part of the conversation. Let's see who we going to next here. Let's go to Tammy. Tammy is next up on PTL. Hi, Tammy.
Hello. Last time I called you guys, I talked about Trump and making fun of the reporter.
Yeah.
Yep.
This time I'm calling you to tell you anytime anybody says anything about Trump not saying about the dictator, that is complete bullshit. I live across the river from where it was said. I seen it on live feed news.
Mm-hmm. Well, let me say this. These are things that he says in front of a camera. These are things that he says when he knows there are people. Imagine the things he says behind closed doors. We know he called her a bitch because we saw that in the video at his golf course. Imagine the things that he says when there are no cameras around.
The problem is the other side, they believe what she says, not what their eyes tell them.
Right. Right.
And I decided Republicans are the party of me. Democrats are the party of we.
I would say in 2000, I would say the Republican Party has evolved into the MAGA party. The party has changed a lot, and it's why so many decent Republicans that I would consider have now left the party or are speaking at the Democrat National Convention. Did you see any lifelong Democrats that worked under Joe Biden that are speaking at the Republican National Convention. Geez, I wonder why that is. 702-221.
And there's a pretty big, there's a pretty big group of Republicans for Harris.
Oh, sure.
As well. So.
Yep. No question.
Yep.
702-221-7283. Let's go to Al. Al is next. Hello, Al.
Hey, how you doing? Hey, thanks for taking my call. You know, I was listening to you, and I'm doing some work, and I had to call in because, you know, even though I'm Maga, you know, I can't stand Tucker Carlson. You know, that guy is disgusting. And I just had to say that, you know, it was just I can't believe that he was pulling that kind of stuff.
So I agree with you, but guess who Tucker's one of his best friends is?
Well,
I'll give you a hint. He puts on orange makeup, and he's the guy that you're supporting.
Yeah, I hear you. And it's just
have you ever heard the saying, "You are who you hang out with"? Have you ever heard that saying?
Yeah, I know what you're saying. They're just saying, you tell me who your friends are, and I'll tell you who you are.
Okay, so can I ask you? You dislike Carlson, and you still like Trump. Why?
Well, first of all, every time I've listened to Tucker Carlson, just the way he presents himself kind of really turns me off. And it's hard for me even to listen to what he's saying. It's just the way he does things. It's just kind of a weird thing. And I just found that my instincts told me that he was just not a very credible person. Now, I don't know what his relationship is with Trump. You know, he's got a lot of friends that, you know, whatever. I don't know. I really don't know.
But hold on a second. You are who you hang out with. The guy who's hung out with Jeffrey Epstein, the guy who was hung out with the Michael Cohens, the Steve Bannons, the Paul Manaforts, the Michael Cohens, so many felons and people that have gone to jail. George Stephanopoulos, you know, all these people that have either gone to jail or he's had to pardon. Don't you think that speaks volumes of who Donald Trump is? Or am I just wrong on that?
Well, the thing is that a lot of the cases that they tried to prosecute Trump, you know my opinion. I feel that, you know, he was just being that they bent the law and that they've tried to push the law.
I didn't ask you about pushing the law and what he's been accused of doing.
So I'm just saying that a lot of these people were prosecuted, and maybe I haven't.
So these are all decent, good people, and they've just been treated unfairly. Is that what you're saying, Al? Is that what you're saying?
I'm just saying that, you know, our court system right now, it's who do you know, how much money you have, and some of these prosecutors will just not give up.
Well, Donald Trump has a lot of money, allegedly, but he's a 34-count felon. So how do you explain that one?
Well, we've already talked that about many times. I felt
so all the felonies and all the convictions and all the people that have surrounded themselves around Donald Trump, is it just that they're all liberal judges and all liberal juries and all the January 6th defendants that went to jail?
Yeah.
It's all unfair, and it's all George Soros, and it's all liberals, and that's why all these people went to jail.
There's no way to have a conversation. There's no way to have a conversation with this and what you are espousing, because none of it makes sense.
Yeah, well, Al, I appreciate the phone call, but I'm up against the clock. You're right, Ilana. It doesn't make sense. All right, here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a very quick break, and when we come back, we are going to be joined by the lovely lady, Nicole Mitchell, joining us in studio. Ilana is going to be sticking around. I like to end the week on a Friday with some positive news. So Nicole always brings it, and we'll take a quick break, and we'll be back with Nicole Mitchell right after this. It's Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP.
Hey, everybody. Are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premium Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired Italian cuisine. Our sandwiches are super. Hero, that is. Because why be a sub when you can be a hero? Stallone's Italian Eatery is here to serve you phenomenal food, Vegas. Forget about it.
Hello, I'm Ron Quince, and I'm running for Congress as a nonpartisan candidate in District 1. I'm dedicated to serving our entire community. In this challenging time, It's more important than ever to have leaders who focus on unity and progress. I believe in putting people over politics and finding practical solutions that benefit us all. Never stop believing in America, no matter our troubles and turmoil. We can and we will do better. We must be brave. Stop voting for those politicians who care about their career and gaining power but don't improve our lives. I believe in America and I believe in you. You need a candidate who believes in policy over party because you deserve better. In Nevada, every voice matters. I humbly ask for your vote this coming election, November 5th. To learn how we can create a better America, please visit quincefornevada.com. Paid for by Ron Quince for Congress.
All right, welcome back. It is Pushing the Limits on a Friday. Check out my good friends at Jackson's Bar and Grill, located at Flamingo and Jones, with their great promotions, including if somebody hits a jackpot, you're going to get $50 in free slot play. $20 in free slot play. Maybe they'll make it 50 one day. I don't know, but $20 in free slot play within 24 hours. Jackson's Bar and Grill, the official gaming bar of the PTL radio show. Always like to end a Friday on a really pleasant and positive note. You've seen her on Jimmy Kimmel's show. You've seen her on Dr. Phil. Are you kidding me? Yes, that's right. The very awesome Nicole Mitchell joining us, pastor turned life coach. Nicole, thank you for joining us. How are you?
I'm so good. Happy Friday. Lots of good things have happened this week.
Yes, I want to talk about that. But one good thing that happened to me is I ran into Nicole at Manhattan Beach, which was a lot of fun. Good to see her in California and my pasty white ass. But anyway, Nicole, there are a lot of positive things to talk about, including this. So we were just talking about Ukraine. This is horrible that all these buildings, have been destroyed and families have been it's horrible, but at least they're turning this into a positive, which is some of the rubble from these Ukrainian buildings is now being turned into a Lego blocks to make new homes, which I think is so cool. Tell me about this.
This is what I love about people's creativity and their willingness to invent, right? They've learned how to take all the rubble from these destroyed buildings, put it to a machine, and then pump out these Lego bricks that can stack without cement filler, even without rebar. But the holes are there in case you have access to rebar. So I just love the genius thought of how can we make this as easy and simple as possible to give them home and shelter again.
And I love that. It's obviously such a tragedy, but helping people and rebuilding something that Ukraine is going to have to do for decades. And this is a wonderful story to hear. All right. So we all talk about hitting a jackpot in Vegas, right? And we've heard stories of people that finding like a $5,000 chip in the casino floor. It's very, very rare. Some people will get excited like my dad if he finds $1 on the floor, but that's okay. But what about the story of this family, an excavation for a new swimming pool they were making, and they found an unearthed treasure of 1,500 medieval coins. This is so cool. Awesome. Tell me about this, Nicole.
What are the chances, right? So this happened in Germany. They're building their pool out, and they find coins from what they think are around 1,300. We're talking 700 years ago. And then they dug, they found some, brought it in, they kept digging, they found some more. They didn't say if their family got anything out of it, but let's hope they're compensated in some way for discovering some awesome history.
This is where we need the guys from Pawn Stars to come on. We need somebody. Yeah. I would imagine that something that is that old, a medieval coin, even one of those coins, I would imagine has to be worth hundreds of dollars. I don't know. I'm not a professional when it comes to this stuff, but I would imagine they're making at least six figures off of this. And that's so cool.
Well, I would imagine they're going into a museum.
Yeah. Well, you never know. You never know.
I mean,
donate it to the Trump campaign.
It's not atypical for especially since my family's, from Europe to find.
Hey, something. I'm just trying to get my hand on those Donald Trump rookie cards. I'm sorry. I had to do it. I can't just be positive here.
But those have no value.
They don't. That's true. It was just a joke, but I can't help it. I can't help myself. So Nicole, let's look. Tell me a little bit about this pasta star-shaped sand that was found in Japan, and apparently there's this secret hidden gem inside. Tell me about this.
It's so crazy. So I guess in Japan they have these star-shaped sand beaches. Like, it's actually very common. And they were once living critters, and then they die. And this is their actual skeleton washing up on shore. And inside of them is some, I don't know, cell, amoeba that actually does photosynthesis. So it actually, when it was alive, was creating oxygen. But now that they're dead, they wash up on shore, and there's more and more. And so they're saying how, like, this natural process of life is actually preserving their beaches. It's actually making sure it doesn't get washed out to shore, but they keep naturally adding to the beach line and shoreline in Japan. How trippy is that?
Awesome.
Wow.
It's like
that is,
sand, but skeletons.
That's really cool.
yeah, that's kind of creepy, actually. I don't know how I feel about that. That is interesting. That's strange. Strange. Not as strange as Robert F. Kennedy Jr.
No.
putting a whale head on top of his car.
Exactly. Yeah. Not that strange.
But it is a little bit strange. I don't know. Like, I'm kind of weird when it comes to skeletons and stuff. I'm trying to remember the bodies exhibit that I went to, Nicole, Ilana. I don't know if you ever heard about that.
It's not the same. Yeah, I've actually
I
been
was
there.
I was kind of turned off by that.
That's a little.
You're looking at dead bodies that are in these weird positions, and I'm not talking about sexual positions. I'm talking about, like, one guy's shooting a hoop, another one's like a golf club, and I'm like, these are dead people. Do you think they wanted the rest of their eternal life so people can stare at them? I don't know. I find that's weird, right? There's a line, I think, right? Is there a line?
I think they volunteered for that.
They have.
They did. Yeah, they had to sign off. Yeah.
Maybe they're exhibitionists. I don't know. Maybe they're former OnlyFans models.
I don't know. Science and arts, right?
Yeah.
Let's make sure when I pass away, they put me in my favorite sex position in a museum for people to come watch. This is how I want to live in perpetuity, Brian.
They'll put me in my favorite position, and that's in a facial expression of screaming at a Maga supporter.
With the microphone in your mouth. Yes.
That'll be it. Nicole, what do you got going on this weekend?
Well, I just got engaged on Monday.
Yes,
so
congratulations.
Congratulations to
That's
you.
awesome.
Thank
Congratulations.
you. And the same day we moved into our new home. So I'm doing it for my new bedroom, this radio show. So there's been a lot of milestones this week, and I'm just so grateful. So this weekend, my goal is just to enjoy my home and keep unpacking our 5 million boxes.
Yeah, and we're gonna. I have a negotiation with Nicole. We're gonna have the stream is gonna continue in the bedroom for the entire weekend. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding about that. That you'd have to pay a little bit for that. But anyway,
yes, we'll do that someday. We'll have them all.
Yeah, that's not free. That's not free. You have
extra content.
Yes, that's extra content, but that's not free. Nicole, always a pleasure when you come on. Congratulations, by the way. I'm so happy for you. One of these days, I'm going to have to check out this home. Congratulations on it.
Yes, congratulations.
And I'll be out there in California sometime soon. I know you'll be out here in Vegas soon, but I hope you and your family have a great weekend. And I look forward to catching up with you again next week with some cool stories. Thanks, Nicole.
Thank you, guys. Have a
All
great
right.
weekend.
Thank you.
Have a good one. That's Nicole Mitchell, everybody. Always a
I'm
pleasure
happy for her. That's awesome.
I am very happy for her as well.
That's wonderful.
Yes. Well, you know, Ilana was nice enough to buy some merchandise, for lack of a better term. I was going to say memorabilia. It's merchandise on my website, which is pushingthelimits.live. It's crazy. I gained like 6,000 or 7,000 Twitter followers in like the last couple days. I'm going to continue to give you what you want, and that is just going after these MAGA callers, which is always entertaining. But we've gained like 3,000 YouTube subscribers in the last 2 weeks. It's been crazy. So we're going to keep doing what we're doing. I'm not going to change anything, but here's what we ask of you guys, right? We are an independently owned radio station. What does that mean? Well, we're like public radio. It costs money to do a radio show every day. So we rely on people like you. What can you do to help us? pushingthelimits.live. We're very excited about the new website. We've teamed up with great people that have helped me with the website. Pushingthelimits.live. Sign up for the free newsletter. Join, say hello, all free. If you want to buy any of the merchandise, you can. There's a merchandise section on the website. Again, pushingthelimits.live. Even faster, if you don't want to buy any merchandise, which is totally fine, there's a little donate button right there on the front page. Doesn't matter, whatever you can afford. $5.
Please do so. It supports Brian, and I do contribute.
Yes, you do.
Donate pretty regularly. I try to. So
if she's not buying me lunch, she's donating money on the website. No, Ilana is very generous, and we appreciate all of you very much. Doesn't matter what it is, $5, $10, $20, whatever you can afford, we appreciate. So go to that website and check it out. That's step one, pushingthelimits.live. And if you donate, you are going to hear personally from yours truly, just as a thank you for supporting what we do here. So we're going to be off the air on Monday. KSHP is going to be playing a best of my show, so you'll hear that on Monday. We're going to be back live on Tuesday. Oh boy, am I excited for my guest on Tuesday. We have a Trump surrogate joining us. He makes the rounds on Fox News and CNN. And we also have a guy by the name of the Professional Douche. He pranks Republicans. He showed up at CPAC wearing a Klan outfit. He showed up at a Matt Gaetz event and gave him a blow-up doll. He showed up at a Mike Pence speech and said, I want to go to conversion therapy with you. That guy, the Professional Douche, Mike Picard, is going to be joining us on the show Tuesday as well. Ileana, always
Big
a pleasure
lineup.
seeing you. Have a great holiday weekend.
Thank you. You too.
And everybody else out there, have a great holiday weekend. Love you all. We will see you live on Tuesday. Have a great day, everybody.
Hey, everybody, are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premium Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired Italian cuisine. Our sandwiches are super hero, that is, because why be a sub when you can be a hero? Stallone's Italian Eatery is here to serve you phenomenal food, Vegas. Forget about it.
Who would have thought there'd be so many kids playing ice hockey in the desert? Jake Helps Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, founded by Gina Yusufzai 8 years ago, made it possible for families who can't afford the equipment and fees. Donate today at www.hockeyforkids.org.
Go a little bit lower.
And help us continue making a difference. Join us in supporting Jake Helps Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas
Right there,
Ice Warriors,
right there,
where every
right
kid
there.
gets a shot at the starting line. Just a reminder, our website is www.hockeyforkids.org.
Volume up.
Have you ever dreamed of having your own radio show or?
Keep going. Okay, that's good. You're turn yourself down like a hair. You know, like. I know there's no hair for him to turn down. It's okay though. Perfect.